Good morning, New Zealand. On Daybreak this morning, we talk about the Minister of Foreign Affairs who is taking the axe to the wokeness in MFAT. Jacinda Ardern has a new book out, and the furore continues around school lunches and relationships, sexuality, education in schools. Welcome to Daybreak. Good morning. It's the 14th of March. It's a Friday, always a good day heading into the weekend. And my printer isn't working, so I'm going to have to read a few of these documents off my laptop. So hopefully you'll get used to that. Let's get straight into the stories. And you'll remember that I did a McBlog earlier this week talking about the fact that MFAT, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, has gone all woke. They have put out this document talking about diverse sexuality and gender and all the translations for those words, including drag queens and, of course, all the gender words, trans, etc. And they've also actually, here's a little bit of it, talking about Indigenous Takatapui LGBTQIA terminology, crucial for development in the Pacific. And they've also been going into Pacific Island nations and basically ramming down wokeness, LGBT, and ramming down abortion as well. Fiji, Samoa, Tonga, Niue, Papua New Guinea. And so, yeah, we did highlight this. And as a result, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who just happens to be Winston Peters, responded, and we received a statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Minister, Winston Peters, that said, since returning to the Foreign Affairs portfolio, the Minister has been concerned about the impact that the woke agenda of his predecessor and the Ardern-Hipkins government had on New Zealand's diplomacy and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Over the past 16 months, the Minister has made clear to successive Secretaries of Foreign Affairs and Trade that he expects MFAT and the New Zealand diplomats to reflect the agenda of the current New Zealand government. This has included a determination to remove references to the government's policy priorities from the ministry's online publications. And basically, he said he wants a review of all this type of material and it needs to go. So here we actually put out a media release saying the minister is weeding the wokeness out of MFAT. MFAT should be focusing on security in the region, for example, the Cook Islands. That's not going too well, is it? MFAT should be focusing on free trade deals, for example, with India. And it should be just dealing with relationships with international countries overseas. But it's not. It's ramming down LGBT and attending pride parades, it says, and doing all those woke type of stuff. So, yeah, interesting development on that. There is the media release that we put out. So a little bit of a victory. There's a whole lot of concern at the moment around relationships, sexuality and education because the Minister of Education, Erica Stanford, has removed the radical curriculum that was in place that emphasised, all the sexualities and gender theory and was age inappropriate, all the things that parents and families were concerned about. In a media interview this week, the minister said they were going back to the 2007 guidelines. Now, people might say, oh, well, that's great. That sounds good. Well, it's not. And we actually did a report, this report, which was written by Dr. Miriam Grossman for the United States, who analysed that curriculum and found out that it was R18, that basically it wasn't telling kids the truth and it was encouraging them into unhealthy sexual activity right across the board. In fact, a lot of the material got removed after she did that expose. So when they say they're going back to the 2007 curriculum, it's still just as radical. It doesn't have quite as much gender theory in it, but it's still the type of stuff that you don't want your children exposed to. And speaking of the author, Dr. Miriam Grossman, she is actually going to be speaking at our conference in August, 28th and 29th. Mark it in your diaries of August, Forum on the Family, and I'll be interviewing Dr. Miriam Grossman live, and she will be talking about her book, Lost in Transnation, a child psychiatrist's guide out of the madness. So you won't want to miss that one. There's been a bit of discussion around the Canadian MP, and I'm not sure if you've actually, if you know anything about him. Mark Carney, who is he? He's taken over Justin Trudeau. That's got to be an improvement, but it's the same party. A little bit of background. He's never held public office, so he's not actually an elected official. He's been in the public eye, but yeah, and he's lived in Canada, the United States, and the United Kingdom. Got a master's degree from Oxford University and then a doctorate. He served as the United Nations Special Envoy for Climate and Finance. Okay, red flag there, UN, climate. Interestingly, though, he's Catholic. And it says in 2015, as he led the Bank of England, the international Catholic publication, The Tablet, named him the top Catholic in the UK in the list of the top 100 lay Catholics in the country. He was educated at a Catholic high school in Edmonton, and he attended a conference attended by the Pope, the Global Common Good Towards a More Inclusive Economy, whatever that is, inclusive economy. And after the conference, he signed his name to a statement that said, "We cannot understand the good news of Jesus Christ, the gospel of dignity and fraternity, of justice and peace, without being aware of real poverty." At a gathering in London that same year focused on inclusive capitalism. Boy, that's a lot of buzzwords. He shared his belief that it's necessary to recognise the importance of values and beliefs in economic life. Fair enough. He also released a book titled Values Building a Better World for All, and the Amazon summary says that it highlights the focus on the fault lines of, listen to this, growing inequality in income and opportunity, systemic racism, health and economic crises from a global pandemic, mistrust of experts, the existential threat of climate change. Okay, so yeah, there's a whole lot of red flags amongst all that, isn't there, with Mark Carney, the new, going to be the new Prime Minister of Canada. And it'll be interesting to see how long he lasts. He has endorsed the fact that climate change is an existential threat, but he thinks that rather than doing a carbon tax, what you do is you encourage consumers and small businesses to replace it with incentives for greener choices. That's a good policy. So that may be one of the positives. So we will watch that one with interest. That's a Canadian Prime Minister. All right. I noticed in the media this morning, the campaign against school lunches continues. It's full-on onslaught campaign by the media. Interestingly, last week when the Prime Minister got a bit annoyed with this campaign and said, well, just, send them with a Marmite sandwich and an apple, there was actually majority support for that statement. Some people thought, 26% still said, well, no, some people can't even afford that. There was a poll yesterday on the same website, so I guess you could say the same readership, and you can see there 75% saying that the school lunches program isn't going that well. So you could say the media is actually getting its job done and their campaign is working. I was just interested in two comments. Firstly, from a Huntley school, which the media said yesterday was the first to drop the program. They've dropped the school lunches. So are their kids going to go hungry? Well, no, listen to what it says. A Huntley school has become the first to suspend the government's revamped school lunch program due to what it says is the substandard quality of the meals. Actually, that's what I used to say to my mum as well. These are substandard, mum. Anyway, in a social media post, the principal said the lunches would be suspended from Friday. Instead, listen to this, the school is now asking parents to ensure students bring their own lunches to school. They recommend options such as sandwiches, muffins, and other nutritious foods. And the principal advised parents to avoid packet foods that she said may not provide the necessary nourishment. But a nanny state there. But it's interesting, putting it back on the parents, just like that. And then I read about this is in the New Zealand Herald, about the Gisborne school where there was that unfortunate incident of a meal being heated far too hot and it exploded and the kid got burnt. And of course, none of us have ever got burnt in the kitchen, have we? from cooking. That's not downplaying what happened to that child. That was terrible, but in context. But here's what the principal said of that school. We've had a lot of kids not eating because of the look of the food, the taste, the smell. Listen to this. Some students are now bringing their own lunches. The idea was about giving kids a nutritious meal to get through the day. And in my view, it's missing the mark terribly. This isn't the first principal to actually admit that this program was not about feeding hungry kids who were coming with no lunches. It's actually about the state giving a nutritious meal. And the question is, okay, why can't parents do that? Why don't we empower and educate parents about what is nutritious meals? So it seems like the principals are saying the quiet part out loud about what is the real motivation. It is quite clear from all the comments being made by principals that actually these lunches in schools are not about feeding hungry kids who don't bring lunches to school. It's got far bigger than that. And we should be all concerned about that. There is a new book out, or coming out, and it's from ex-Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern. Her first children's book, titled Mum's Busy Work, she says it's a celebration of the relationship between working mothers and their children, and it's based on the conversations she had with her daughter Neve when she was Prime Minister. Okay, well, good. Sounds like an interesting book, but it's this comment that's in the media report that raised my eyebrows. It says, this is Jacinda Ardern speaking, Mum's Busy Work is based on the words and lessons taught to me by my daughter while I was Prime Minister of New Zealand. My hope is that every child knows that no matter what, they are our life's greatest works. That's hard to take when you realise that she was the architect of New Zealand's extreme liberal abortion law. She decriminalised it, changed the regulations so that in effect you can have an abortion up to 40 weeks with a wink and a nod from 2 abortion doctors, and didn't want to go anywhere near coercion or sex selection or parental notification. I mean, I agree with Jacinda. My hope is that every child, no matter what, knows that no matter what, they are our life's greatest work, says Jacinda. My hope is that every child has a right to life, and that every parent knows that creating life is a wonderful blessing. Anyway, just finally, here's the front page of an Australian newspaper this week that has caused an outrage. Why? Because there's this ad down the bottom. You may not be able to see it from there. Let me just enlarge it. The ad is for a political party, and, well, it could be Winston Peters putting this ad. It could be Family First putting an ad saying, "What is a woman?" Not that the newspapers allowed us to do that. But it says there are only 2 genders, male and female. And boy, there was a furor. In fact, the newspapers actually had, the ad says, "We must stop confusing children in schools, give them a safe and normal environment to grow and develop in, and let them decide who they are when they become adults." As a result, the Age and the Newcastle Herald, the Newcastle Herald removed the ad and apologised. They said, listen to this, "We support freedom of speech and a diversity of views, but on this occasion we let our readers and staff down." Diversity of views as long as we agree. Now, the Age, which I'm showing you here, they actually did defend their decision to run the ad. They said if we were to start picking and choosing which platforms of a registered political party were acceptable, that could imply endorsement of any political ads we did choose to run. Well, of course, the New Zealand Herald, the Dominion Post, the Christchurch Press, and the Otago Daily Times all refused to run our ad, which wasn't on the front page, by the way, just simply asking, what is a woman? And we need a discussion about it in public policy. Right, there we go. Didn't do too bad without the printer. That's all we've got time for today, Friday, so we're heading into the weekend. Hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you Monday at around this time. See ya.